Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Twisters, number 2 would be Despicable Me 4, number 3 would be Longlegs, number 4 would be Inside Out 2, and number 5 would be A Quiet Place Day 1. And I got really close. I maybe had put a little bit too much faith in Longlegs besting Inside Out 2 once again, but I did get 3 out of 5 of my predictions right. Some of you did guess correctly that thing that I was mentioning about the holdover between Inside Out 2 and Longlegs. We will talk about Longlegs' hold in a second, but I think just as far as family entertainment, yeah, Inside Out 2 probably would have had the leg up over Longlegs as far as holdovers. And also, it was pretty close for those two movies last weekend, so it's not that surprising. And like we also mentioned with horror, sometimes it doesn't get everyone in the theater, but like a 4-quadrant movie like Inside Out 2, that'll do it. Still though, we'll talk about it. It's going very well, but so is number 1, which is Twisters. Now, we were talking, I think, last week or maybe a couple weekends ago, whichever weekend we mentioned Twisters. It was probably last weekend. Sorry, tangent. It was being eyed up to open around like 40 to maybe 50 million. That was like early tracking. And it was kind of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And I was mentioning how like with Deadpool and Wolverine right around the corner, you know, it's going to need a big boost because apparently the budget is 200 million. Now, I have seen something recently say that it's ranging from 155 million to 200 million. I think 155 million, having seen the film, and it's a very, good, entertaining movie, I think that 155 million makes the most sense to me, but like we always say with some of these movies, you just never know. So it ranges from there. I would say it's still it still needs a lot of money, because Deadpool and Wolverine is going to suck up everything, at least for a bit. But, in this day and age of movies getting put on streaming like right away, who knows how long that is. Anyways, all I'm trying to say here is that it's off to a pretty solid start, at least domestically, because like I was saying, it's tracking to open 40 to 50 domestically. It opened up way more. It is sitting at $80 million right now for its opening weekend. That is obviously way better than where this was being tracked at. I think, a solid word of mouth ahead of time and then on the opening weekend really got us there. And it does paint the picture of like, even with Deadpool and Wolverine next weekend, it could potentially still hold over well enough because I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't give a shit about the latest Ryan Reynolds Deadpool movie. You know what I mean? So if they are looking for an alternative, they're like, well, I haven't seen Twisters yet. So it could potentially still hold over very well next weekend, even with this big competition. Of course, we will have to wait and see how that goes. We'll wait and see next weekend. But right now, I'm thinking it might do well. I think here domestically, it's going to make, a pretty impressive amount of numbers. As far as the original Twister opening weekend, it is 39 million over that film. Of course, it's not adjusted for inflation, but still, the interest is still here for at least, these Twister movies. But I guess any kind of natural disaster kind of movie that has like these up and coming rising stars, if you promote it well enough and it has a solid word of mouth beforehand, as far as outgrossing the original Twister domestically, needs 161 million to do so. So like I was saying, if it has solid holds in the next coming weekends, even with this big MCU movie next weekend, I think it could potentially do that, and that would be pretty stellar to see. Worldwide, it is only bumped up just by a little bit. It is sitting at 123 million right now, so not exactly clearing its initial production budget. It's a little bit under. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it's kind of like the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes opening weekend. Obviously, I think at this point, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes has doubled that budget, and it hasn't tripled it, but it's made, very close to 400 million worldwide, or they've crossed it at this point, wherever they are. So it had a pretty modest, decent run. But when that movie opened up, it was like, worldwide, it's sitting at so-and-so number. It was just a little below its initial production budget, but it was a decent opening. So that's kind of where this movie is at right now. It could go on to have a solid, decent run. It just needs the legs to do so, just needs the genuine, like, good word of mouth, kind of like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which people were kind of doubting because that movie got like a B cinema score. But like I said, it went on to have a decent run. Twisters has an even better cinema score at an A-. So there you go. It definitely has a shot, so we will see how this goes. As far as the original Twister worldwide, it needs 372 million to outgross that one. So long ways to go. And that's not even, we're just talking about the original film. As far as doubling, it's either 155 million budget or 200 million budget. Yeah, if the budget is closer to 155 million, I would say that this opening is better for that. If it's closer to 200 million, that's where it gets a little iffy. But like I said, it's going to be more interesting to talk about in the coming weeks as opposed to like immediately right now. Right now, it is a way better opening than what it could have had, as we were talking about with tracking last week. And then that's the thing to celebrate here. The fact that people are also really enjoying this movie. You know, like that's the big story here, and that's great. But we'll see. You know what I mean? You know, because after Deadpool and Wolverine, I think it's not immediately after that, but there's still movies coming out, like Alien Romulus is coming out at some point. Next coming, M. Night Shyamalan has a new thriller, which, you know, it probably won't, you know, do more than Deadpool and Wolverine, but at this rate will probably take more from like the Twisters demographic of audience. We'll see. Doesn't matter right now. Anyways, number 2 is Despicable Me 4, obviously still clinging in there, making $23 million, adding to a domestic total of $259 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $574 million. So going back to the domestic numbers, it finally did outgross the original Despicable Me by $7 million. Now needs $5 million until it outgrosses Despicable Me 3. So there you go. It's plugging away now. Worldwide, it has outgrossed the original film by $30 million, and it needs $365 million until it outgrosses Rise of Gru. So yeah, that's the thing, is that worldwide, the original Despicable Me is, for Illumination Despicable Me franchise standards, pretty easy to clear, but the other ones have broken $1 billion or gotten close to it. So, you know, this one will need a little bit more time to get to the other films. But hey, clearing the original, that's that's good enough sometimes, you know. And they've already, you know, made 5 times their $100 million initial production budget. They're about to get to $600 million, so that's 6 times that budget. So yeah, they're good either way. Number 3 is Inside Out 2, like I said, doing a little better in its hold compared to Longlegs, making $12 million, adding to a domestic total of $596 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $1.443 billion. Like we were talking about last weekend, it did become the highest grossing Pixar film worldwide, but domestically, it is inching closer to Incredibles 2. It needs exactly $12 million until it outgrosses that one. And then it's the highest grossing Pixar film domestically here in the States. Either way, it's already the highest grossing film for Pixar worldwide anyways. It's already the highest grossing film of the year domestically and worldwide. It doesn't really need any more achievements, but it is going to get this achievement of both domestically and worldwide. So there you go. Not really anything else interesting to really talk about with this one. But number 4, with Longlegs, here we go. Last weekend I was kind of theorizing, like, I don't know, it could have a decent hold because I can't see the Twisters audience taking too much away from it. It is the only movie really coming out, so there's not these other niche movies taking more competition from Longlegs, but still, it could be that thing of like people really hyped up the marketing of it and getting that initial opening weekend, so we could potentially have seen a front-loaded opening, and now maybe we get a drop-off that makes sense for horror, which is like maybe 60%, like a little over, you know, halfway. But this hold, it was actually at 48%, which is great for a horror movie, especially one like this, because like I was saying, yeah, because of the market, maybe it could have been that thing of people were just front loading that weekend. Maybe the general audience is like, well, it's that annoying thing of people going like, well, it wasn't that scary, and maybe that's the talk of the town. But no, this movie's holding over very solidly. It made $11 million this weekend, now adding to a domestic total of $44 million. As far as Neon's domestic list, it did outgross I, Tonya by $14 million, now needs $9 million until it outgrosses Parasite, and then domestically, it is the highest grossing Neon film. We might as well just say it is already, you know, like it's obviously going to clear that. Worldwide, it's only a little bit of a, you know, difference, sitting at $46 million, but it did outgross Ferrari by $6 million, and it now sits behind I, Tonya by $9 million. So it is in the top 3 for Neon's highest grossing worldwide runs because of this, and it's inching closer to I, Tonya. The thing is, though, is that domestically, it's looking like it's going to clear Parasite. Worldwide, because in case you didn't know, Parasite, being the international feature that it is, made way more money worldwide as opposed to domestically. So right now, Parasite worldwide is sitting at $253 million. So Longlegs could outgross I, Tonya, but it's probably not going to make that much. So we will see Longlegs get to be the second highest worldwide run for Neon. But domestically, it has a shot of being number 1, and that's all that matters, folks. All we really need to talk about here is that it has, at this rate, quadrupled its at least $10 million initial production budget. If they make $4 million more in these next couple days, it will make 5 times that. If they keep up the momentum, then it's 6 times, potentially 7 times or 8. You know what I mean? Like, they are on a really, really great run with this. Like, wow. You know, I was just so excited to talk about this the most, I think. Like, Twister's doing better than anticipated. Obviously, that's exciting too. But just, man, this movie last weekend and this weekend continues to impress. If you haven't seen Longlegs yet, go see it. Number 5 is A Quiet Place Day 1, making $6 million, adding to a domestic total of $127 million. It is inching closer to Part 2, sitting at $33 million away from that now. Worldwide, it is sitting at $241 million, so that's $55 million away from A Quiet Place Part 2. But more importantly, I think it is also inching closer to quadrupling its 67 initial production budget. As soon as they get to 268 million worldwide, it'll get there. And I don't really have much more to add because, there's only 2 other films in this franchise, and it's not really looking, despite it having the best opening weekend out of them, just by a little bit, it's not looking like it's going to end up outgrossing them, or at least, it'll take a little while to get to 2. It might not even do 1, but still, the fact that it's going to make at least 4 times its initial production budget, that's still a win for this franchise. The news is out there more so that, it had the highest opening weekend compared to the other 2. So it's like, that's the narrative that people are running with. That's the one that people really like. This is the success story of this movie. So good job all around. Number 6 is Fly Me to the Moon, which is not a good job all around. No one's seeing this. Made $3 million, adding to a domestic total of $16 million for the director. That places it $24 million away from Love, Simon, his other film. Worldwide, it is only sitting at $30 million, not really helping them there, which places it $35 million away from Love, Simon. Yeah, man, like we're talking about, I'll just say it quickly here because there's not really much to add. Apple theatrically is getting a big fucking whooping. Maybe Wolves can turn it around just based off of the star power of Brad Pitt and George Clooney alone, and that doesn't seem like, at first, a movie that would cost as much as Fly Me to the Moon did. Fly Me to the Moon cost $100 million, and I feel like Wolves might have a bit more of a better marketing hook just based off of Brad Pitt and George Clooney being these like classic kind of movie stars. And it's not a rom-com, but it is kind of like a comedic kind of crime movie that might be interesting to some people. I think maybe some people are more interested in the trailer for that as opposed to like a Fly Me to the Moon, because rom-coms can kind of be a bit like, some people really love them, some people just have an immediate like disconnect from them as soon as they recognize that's what's being promoted, like, ooh, not this. So maybe that will be the one that wins it for Apple in the cinemas, but right now they're fucked. Number 7 is Bad Boys Ride or Die, making $2 million, adding to a domestic total of $189 million, so that places it $15 million away from For Life. Worldwide, it is sitting at $388 million, which places it $36 million away from For Life. Domestically, it is slowing down considerably. I don't see it outgrossing For Life, at least while it's in this top 10, slowly dipping out of here. Maybe, if it remains in the bottom list for a long time, it might end up working there, but it just seems like it's slowly dipping out. Worldwide, there's still a slim chance for that to happen, but there's more of a chance for them to get that 12 million to get to 400 million worldwide, which is what I'm kind of more excited for at this point, which we've already talked about. So I don't really need to keep going on that. Either way, they've tripled their 100 million initial production budget, and they're good. Now, number 8 is kind of a late addition because I caught it this time. Before recording, if you remember, last week, a couple weeks ago, I had recorded my video, but then I had checked too late and found out Box Office Mojo had 2 other movies in the top 10, and it was like, fuck, the numbers didn't have this, and the numbers was kind of doing a similar thing where it was like some of their list was numbered and then the rest wasn't, so it was like, are they going to finish it? Is it updated? So I went to Box Office Mojo. Surely enough, Bad News with a Z was in there at number 8. I don't know what this movie is. All I know is that it, broke the numbers' brain. It made 1.06 million. Not sure what the budget of this thing is. It's not listed on Wikipedia. There's no other worldwide totals to add to it, so it's just 1.06. But, made it into the top 10, so that's something. It effectively moved out Horizon and American Saga, if I can just mention that real quickly. That was going to be number 10 until I found out this movie existed. Now, Kevin Costner's Western epic, gone. It's just not here anymore. Crazy, right? Anyways, number 9 is Maxxxine, though, making $819,000, adding to a domestic total of $13 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at $17.7 million. It has worldwide finally outgrossed X by $2 million. So both domestically and worldwide, it is the highest grossing film in this X trilogy that we have, even if it is the worst one that they've made. We still don't have an official budget listed anywhere, but like we've been saying, with X costing $1 million, Pearl costing $1 million to make, I can't imagine that this costs, any more than that. Especially because, I said a while ago that like watching this movie, it kind of felt like a Blumhouse one, even though it's A24. So I can't imagine they spent any more than what Blumhouse usually will spend on their movies, which is usually like about $5 million. So maybe they just made a $5 million movie and now they've made 3 times that back. Who knows? Maybe it's 10. I don't know. Either way, you know, they're here. And finally, closing out the video, not the Kevin Costner one, it's The Bikeriders. The Bikeriders was out of the top 10 last week, and if I remember correctly, and now it's back, which was surprising, but, you know, welcome, since it was good. But I wish there was more of a success story here. It only made $700,000 this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $21 million. It did outgross Mud for Jeff Nichols by a couple $100,000, and also worldwide, sitting at $34 million, it outgrossed Mud by $3 million. So it is Jeff Nichols' highest grossing film, both domestically and worldwide. So if I can end it on any positive, is that at the very least his box office, you know, has really, you know, peaked with The Bikeriders as far as the other films he's made, and maybe there's potential for him to make another film and exceed what The Bikeriders did. But I don't know, you know. Man, with Challengers doing, you know, better, you know, than it could have, even if it didn't manage to double its initial production budget when we were talking about it on the show. You know, at the very least, it was kind of like, okay, see, you know, people will turn out for an original, like, drama, you know what I mean? Like, they can do that, you know? It had a decent enough hold and run, even if it didn't, like I said, even if it didn't double its $55 million initial production budget, at least on the show. The Bikeriders didn't even do that, and it kind of dipped out of here really fast. They put it on digital right away. Just a bummer all around, but hey, it's Jeff Nichols' highest grossing film. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5, even though it's going to be incredibly easy. Believe it or not, I don't think the Fabulous Four is going to sneak their way in here, so my predictions are just going to be that number 1 is Deadpool and Wolverine, number 2, Twisters, number 3, Despicable Me 4, number 4, Inside Out 2, and then number 5, Longlegs. But what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.